want to, of course, discuss a raft of issues regarding the state of the nation. And I'm holding court this evening with Esther Passaris, who is the Women Rep Nairobi. Also, we have a Member of Parliament of Elders. This is Eden Canaan, eagerly waiting to be joined by Richard Onyonka. He was in the Senate today, a long day for him as well. So anytime he should be checking in. We want just to, of course, continue with the discussion that we had begun. And even as Esther Passaris is joining us, earlier on, I had promised that we'll circle back with the discussion regarding Donald Trump's pronouncement with now him holding the temporal permanent status of Somali in Minnesota. We've had also a rejoinder there from Prime Minister Barre in Somalia. Honorable Canaan, I just wanted to ask you that particular question regarding especially the statements that have been tripping off the tongue of Ilhan Omar when he's speaking, in the Congress or is speaking with the Somali community. She seems to be speaking from both sides of her mouth, that she has been very categorical that they are in America to protect the interests of Somalis in America. And that will be their first priority first. And that's why they are actually in Congress. And whichever political position that we have Somali taking in Minnesota or whichever maybe state, that is the primary concern, to protect the interest of Somali first. What do you think about that particular statement in regard to, in the context of assimilation and enculturation within the community that actually you're adopting?
I think at times, we say ignorance has no defense. Ilhan Omar is a congressional lady representing one of the districts in Minnesota. She's also a Democrat. She's also of Somali descent. She went to America as a refugee, went through the legal system, qualified to become an American citizen. And that's why she was allowed to participate in an elective, to compete actually for an elective position. That is one thing. So she, first and foremost, she has a history. She has a historical relationship with the Somali community because she's also a Somali. Two, at certain stage, she was also a refugee. Right now, she's an American citizen. She is a member of Congress. And more fundamentally, she is also a Democrat. So all these combined gives her an opportunity to respond to the criticism, unwarranted criticism by President Trump. So everything that I do not vouch for what she says privately, but to the extent that she responded to this unwarranted attack on the members of the Somali community by Trump, I think she did her best. I will have done the same. Not as a Somali, but as a leader. So I totally agree with her response to that outburst by President Trump. Therefore, this is why I always say, all of us are familiar with the history of America. And I just said some few minutes ago that even Trump is of German descent. That has been documented by some of the internationally renowned biographers like Quenda Blair. Just like Ilhan Omar is also of Somali descent. She has not denied that, and we all know it. So I think what we are trying to say are two things. And I will repeat this. Anywhere in the world, we're in a civilized world. And America is a global leader. And the President of America is expected to provide the highest level of leadership, not only to the Americans, but to the entire community, to the entire international community. Now, that being the case, if there are particular individuals, all Somalis don't instinct, that's what he said. We understand that Somalia has had some sort of social security and political upheaval since 1991, but they're also recovering. And Somalia is a member, is a responsible member of the international community with a functioning, democratically elected government led by President Hassan Sheikh. The fact that they are awake and they have had security challenges is not a unique phenomenon to the Somali community or the Federal Republic of Somalia. This is something that can happen. Countries have gone through, America has gone through a civil war, just like Somalia has gone through a civil war. That civil war has made America stronger because they have learned lessons. Just like the Somalis have also gone through a civil war, they have learned They had lessons. And I'm sure the Somalia of 1991, the Federal Republic of Somalia of 1991 is not the Federal Republic of Somalia of 2025. These are challenges. How many other countries have serious security challenges today? So the bone of contention is not about what Ilham Omar does or what she says as a congressional person. Ideologically, she's a Democrat. Trump is a Republican, and you know the ideological divide. So that being the case, she has every right to protect the members of the Somali community who have been abused, who have been treated unfairly, who have been blackmailed, actually, who have been profiled, not because of things that we know, but maybe because of one or two things, or one or two individuals who might have committed certain activities. But the whole world is looking to America. That is why we all do benchmarking to go and learn democratic ideals, good governance, national pride, national cohesion from America. What we are seeing right now is not what we expected from the only remaining global leader. To Ilham Omar, continue fighting for the interest, not only of the Somalis, for the innocent people, for the American citizens who are being punished. And it's not the first time that we are seeing different comments. The other day it was the Haitis. The other day it was the Venezuelans. The other day it was the anti-Africans. Now it's the Somalis. The whole thing is going round. So my appeal is what goes around comes around. Use all the available track 1 diplomatic initiatives, track 2 diplomatic initiatives in defending the rights of the Somalis in America, the rights of other innocent Americans who are also being attacked. And I think that is what will give us a civilized, accommodative, democratic world where every citizen of the global village has a right to coexist peacefully and with a bit of civility. And we always say civility is not a sign of cowardice. Let's accept that the world today requires good leadership. The world today requires a bit of tolerance. Yeah. And I think that is one thing that we all need to learn from the rich American culture.
But coexistence, as you mentioned, that has been the biggest question that is hanging over that particular huge question of the Somali community. Do you think, from your own assessment and estimation, there is this morbid fear and trepidation regarding the growth of the Somali community, just as you've mentioned that now they're second to the Oromo community, and you're saying they could be also leading a population of Somali descent people in Africa. Do you think there is that bugbear and fear and trepidation about the implosion of growth of the Somali community that is threatening maybe the Americans? Even here in the country, I think the other day we saw Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome, castigating one of the clergies that had raised, a question about the Somali community in the country and why they should be wary about this growing community. And this is sort of really ruffling feathers. Do you think there is such sentiments?
I think let me educate you.
Please.
Visit UK today. There are Somalis who have been there over a century. And they have had leadership, elected leadership, at the municipal level and even at the national level. Go to Canada today. There is even a person of Somali descent as a minister, a key minister. And the population is there. Some might have gone there as refugees, but others have been there for quite some time. Come back Kenya here. You are aware of the history of the first British or the Kenya-Uganda railway. Do you know the first people who built that railway? We only know the Indian coolies. The other groups were the Somali, the British Somalilanders. The British Somalilanders. Those are the people who founded Parklands, Isli, part of Thika. I just want to take you to Thika here. The famous Ali Kabati. He was one of the longest serving councillors in the history of Kenya. If you find the history, you'll find that he was the owner of the big chunk of land from Pangani all the way to Gatundu, including even where right now Safari Park actually sits. So once you are familiar with the history of this is why we have so many centers. Start from Isiolo. Isiolo is a product of the first Somali migrant, products of actually the first Somali railway builders. That's the history of Isiolo. If you go to Nyanyuki here, you will find the same. Go to Nyeri, you will find the same. I don't need to. Naivasha here, you have the Isakia community. All the way to Nakuru, Eldoret, up to Bungoma. You have had the history of Maamina. How these people came to Kenya. It's not the way that's been projected. You know, even our own history was twisted. Immediately after independence, because of the shifter menace, there was an attempt actually to rewrite and rubbish the history of the Somali community and their contribution to the making of the nation state of the Republic of Kenya. That is properly documented right now. We only need to go back to the archives. See the unbiased historical contribution of the Somali community actually in our archives, and you will appreciate that it's not the way some of the things have been projected. It's not true. And that's why proudly today, the Somalis are now the most widespread community in the world. If you go to Tel Aviv, you will find a Somali. If you go to Moscow today, you will find a Somali. If you go to Vienna, you will find a Somali. If you go and that's by the grace of God. And therefore, today, we have so many elected people of Somali descent actually in the European Parliament. All over. We have them in Canada. We have them in America. We have them in... Go to Dubai today. It's like you'll think that is another Mogadishu. Go to Vienna. Go to Brussels.
Thank you.
So I think the bit that we need to demystify is there are criminal elements in every community. Criminal element is not the title of the members of the Somali community. Criminal elements are individuals. Wherever they do, wherever they are, let criminal elements carry the attack. What is happening in America, I think it's tantamount to ethnic profiling. It's something that least expected actually in America, and we hope and pray that it's going to pass. And we understand the dynamics actually in that particular region. But in Kenya here, whatever somebody has said here, I can tell you this, and you are familiar with it. The Somali community has suffered over the years because of the shifter menace. That brief shifter menace, you are aware what has happened? How we were reduced to second-class citizen, how we were given, there was the District Contagious Act, a unique law for the members of the Somali community. We have had the Indemnity Act, a unique law for the members of the Somali community. All these things ended with the advent of multipartyism in 1991. And truly, the Somalis in Kenya here, just like the Somalis are all over. By the way, if you go to Ethiopia here, the Somalis are now the third largest community. After the Oromos and Amharas, the Somalis are now the third. The Somalis are in Djibouti. The Somalis are in Somalia. The Somalis are in Kenya here. The Somalis are in Somaliland here. These are historical facts. What can we do? There's nothing that could. There's even a Somali member of parliament, a Somali minister in Tanzania. What can we do? This is the making of the scramble for Africa. The Somalis were partitioned into different parts of Africa, and by extension, the Somalis have become now the most widespread community in the whole world. The only thing that I will tell the Somalis, wherever they are, continue being persistent, continue being resilient, continue being hardworking, and wherever they are, function in line with your traditions and the norms of those countries where you reside in.
Right, thank you.
Don't accept any intimidation.
All right, okay. Let me just give a hearty welcome to Esther Passaris. Thank you for joining us. I know it's been a long day for both of you, and you also elected to just be part of this conversation this evening is a good sacrifice. I really want to say thank you. Esther, it's been a while, and thank you for, of course, seeing you on this other side of the tracks. I wanted just to ask you a very pointed question, first of all, regarding we are celebrating or observing the Gender-Based Violence Month since, the 1st of...
25th.
Yes, since 25th until the 16th of December. The 10th of December. Yeah, that will be training our focus on what is happening with the gender-based violence. I don't know, there has been a report that just came out yesterday from Jukwaa la Usalama, from the Ministry of Interior, regarding the criminal gangs. And maybe you can just give us a perspective of what you think that has been happening on that event where many women are really adversely affected, especially with violence online. It's very visual. We can see women being attacked. And you are one who representing these faces of women in Nairobi.
Okay, I mean, so every year between 25th of November and 10th of December, the world observed 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, sexual gender-based violence. And when you think about it, it's 15 days just to create awareness that SGBV is on the rise. And why is it on the rise? You know, sometimes I question, you know, we as women, we raise these men because they are our sons. Mm-hmm. What happens to make them turn against grandmothers, to turn against children, to turn against women, to turn against their own wives or their partners? We have a crisis. And I mean, we can try and blame it to mental health, blame it to alcohol, blame it to drugs. But I think the fact that people get away with it, right, it's becoming more rampant. And when you think of Africa, I mean, we saw what South Africa's done. They've just declared it a national crisis. When you think of Africa, we're patriarchal. So there's always been this desire to dominate and more or less command the woman. And now you're finding that women are coming out, they're becoming independent, they are working, they are, you know, they're demanding to be equal partners, and some men probably can't take that. So the only other resort is violence. But I think if we were able to deal with our investigations on perpetrators efficiently, which we are not, and we were able to create shelters and safe spaces for women, which we're lagging behind on that. And if we were also able to educate and protect the girl child. I mean, it was really disheartening during COVID to see over 300,000 girls, majority of them in Kilifi County, being impregnated. And we're talking about girls between the age of 10 and 18, being impregnated when they're home, you know. So you need to have them in school for them to be safe, not to be preyed on by perpetrators. But what do we do? So you have this 10-year-old girl who gets defiled, she gets pregnant, she gives birth. Then all of a sudden, we say we can't give her commodities because she's not 18, so you can't give her birth control. So because she's given birth in this neighborhood, right, then the men think she's an adult, she's 10. So by 11, another child, 12, 13. By the time she's 20, she's got 6 children. But she's still a girl, she's still a baby, she's still a child. And I feel that we are failing. We're failing to protect our girls. We're failing, you know, I think it's so unjust. You know, and that's why I'm pro-choice. It's so unjust to make a 10-year-old girl who was defiled by her father give birth and die on the delivery room. Then you can't even give her NHIF or SHA. We're still trying to figure out how do you give this child cover to give birth when her mother's given birth on the same cover. I think we've worked out some kind of way to make sure that teen moms can also be registered on SHA. It's just a societal wrong that's happening, and it's not a woman's battle. It's the he for she's that have to step up and defend our girls, defend your daughters, defend your women, defend your sisters, defend your mothers, defend mentally challenged people. I mean, in Kenya, the youngest is 5 months, right? And the oldest is 83. Mental challenged women or children are not spared. So we have a sick society. We've got churches and mosques and temples, but we still have a sick society. So we're failing in trying to raise the moral bar. We're failing in arresting perpetrators. And I mean, we had a case of Abigail in Kasarani. Abigail was brutally raped and killed in her own house. And she was living in apartments, not in the informal settlements, in an apartment. And she was raped in an apartment block where there were many other places. Somebody walks in, rapes her, kills her, slits her, and walks out. So I given an award for, you know, anyone who can come up with an idea. They had a suspect. They felt that there was children who had seen a certain guy. Now, when I followed up on this case and we got the investigating officer, he told me, oh, we've arrested the guy, but we don't have reagents. So I'm thinking, you don't have reagents to match the DNA, you know, the forensics. So the courts can tell you to hold the person only for 2 or 3 weeks. Reagents are coming from South Africa. How would we run out of reagents? So when the mother called recently to ask what's the status on my daughter's investigation, the investigating officer tells her, I have more than one case. Yours is not the only file. So insensitive. So we have a problem in that we're not taking gender-based violence seriously. So what? Unless it happens to your family members, you'll take it seriously. Perpetrators are compromising prosecutors. They are not taking the cases seriously. Nobody's arrested. I would like the DCI to give us a report on the last 100, 200, 300 cases, because every case is important. All the reported cases that we've had over the last 5 years, what success rate do you have? Where are these perpetrators? And then also repeat offenders. We have a forensic lab. Are we investing enough? Are we giving them more money? The thing is, if you have a bar in, let's say, Korogocho, where every weekend, every Wednesday, you have rape victims, and you're not tying them together, then you have serial rapists, and you're not arresting them because we collect the forensic, we collect the DNA, but nobody's picking it up, nobody's doing anything about it. So for me, I really think the people that are entrusted to investigate and arrest and take out these criminal elements from our society are failing women, they're failing children, and they're also failing boys and men, because boys and men are not spared. There's also sodomy going on in our country. And I feel saddened that the DCI is not taking this issue very seriously. I'm going to go before the committee and give them the list, and I want them to tell me what is their success rate. How many perpetrators have they put behind bars? I don't believe that they're doing a good job. People have been killed, we know the killer, he gets out on bail. I think we also have to look at our laws. I know that the Bill of Rights says that every offense is bailable. I think sexual gender-based violence, when the perpetrator is so clearly known, should not be bailable.
But let me ask you, since you're talking about he for she, and we have, of course, history bearing with us that patriarchy has been one of the key proponents of exacerbating gender-based violence. But if you're coming to this dispensation that we're living in, where people are more educated, they're more informed, would we be still having hang-ups on the patriarchy? Is it still so backed in the coding of our society that is affecting and steamrolling gender-based violence?
I think because women have become a little bit more successful, right? The self-esteem of men in handling women has been lowered. But I feel the boy child is no longer guarded or guided by the father. We've got a lot of single moms. Men are planting seeds everywhere and moving on. You know, it's become like a sport. Just go knock them up one after the other. You've got your kids everywhere and you don't care. So these kids are growing up without role models, and it's a big problem. So we need to have a lot of mentorship about what it is to be a decent man, what it takes. You know, we have the circumcision rites, okay? And people go through that process and they're supposed to be taught. I say the cut doesn't make you a man. It's the shaping of your character that makes you a man. And who is shaping the character? The mother is a single mom, she's busy working and she's trying to earn a living. The boy is raised by the mta. The mta is full of people who take drugs, take alcohol, who don't drop out of school because they have no money to go to school. So it's a vicious cycle of wrong. And I feel it needs a collective effort. The whole society needs to come together to understand that we're responsible for each other. But for me as a leader, every time I have an event in this city, I have to deal with 200 or 300 young youth that come, stay on my car, push and shove because they want to get money from you. It's become like a norm. That's goonism. And that is wrong. And half of the guys that come and do that, right, they want money, and it's extortion. And it's extortion to you're buying your safety within that environment. And we seem to think it's politically okay. It is not. And when I see I've empowered you, I've given you a project, I've given you a motorbike, I've given you money, I've given you all this, but you're still coming and chasing politicians. Today I went to church. We were in Consolata. And we had the funeral service of Beryl Odinga. As we were coming out, all these boys, they've come from all over Nairobi, and they're there. The police are there. They watch you having all these people jump on your car, drive off with you, motorbikes chase you, and they do nothing. I mean, this is insane. We have to have a way to deal with this. And I think the minute we start arresting them, because for us, as politicians, especially me as a woman, you have to walk around with money, because if you don't, you're going to be harassed. And I saw Hanifa, this young lady who I thought, you could be a good politician in the future, say, I can't do this because I feel like it's, I can't deal with this. And this is scary that you've got good potential leaders who can come and fill that space where the gap that we have of women in leadership, not wanting to take up politics because they're scared. And when I'm accosted or attacked or harassed or chased down the streets. I mean, there's a time I was chased from Kibra and I drove into Langata police station and they were following me with their motorbikes and recording, saying, oh, she's not giving us money, she's mean. And I'm like, why should I give you money? I'm here as your leader to give you projects. So I think right now we've got a crisis in employment. We've entertained as politicians Goonism for too long. We have hired them to be able to harass our competitors. And let me tell you, it's biting.
So is it entertainment from politicians or politicians
it is
actually
exploitation of the poor.
They are using the goons to expedite their political quest?
It is exploitation of the poor, and it is a character that has developed that when you see a politician, you have to get money. And I feel what they have to realize is getting money in the manner that they do is an offense, it's extortion. Getting money through projects or through employment, that's the way to go. But right now, because they're unemployed, when they see the politician, and I always give them money. Yes. Yesterday alone, I mean, I spent over 200,000 just getting the boys off. But the thing is, because they came to my function. They came to my function.
So you have to fend them off.
Let me tell you, they came to my function, they were from all over Nairobi. And you know what? I look at them and I think, I try and tell them, calm down, and I understand. But the sad part is some of them will use it for good, some of them will use it for drugs and alcohol. So the question is, we need to find a way to balance, and I think the cure comes from, first of all, employment. Having said that, those who have empowered with projects are still chasing me. And I'm like, why are you chasing me around town? I've given you a motorbike. I've given you a project. I've given you money to start a business, and you're still following me. So it's a culture. It's a habit, and it's going to get worse between now and 2027. The fact is, we've got to make this illegal. We've got to change our rules. We've got to make this handouts illegal so that they know they can't ask for it and we can't give it. So that we find a way to stop this, because if we don't stop it, it starts with the politician. When you can't get the politician, what are you going to do? Go and do the Mungiki style protection fee? I mean, that's where we're going to end up. You can't walk on the street, or you can't open a shop or run a business unless you pay us. So it's a recipe for disaster, and we need to deal with it.
Okay, let me just come to Honorable Kanan, because I think also in the spirit of empowerment, just as you've said, people are expecting, money, because they think once you have a politician there is empowerment. So that will be in the name of empowerment. And I think that has been also inculcated with the Kenya Kwanza administration, with the empowerment spirit that we know all over happening, that people have been raising accusatory fingers against this particular practice at the end of the day. So how then do you define and draw a demarcation line between what now you're saying you're trying to fend them off and this is empowerment? Because they'll come and say, hey, we need to be empowered at the end of the day. So I want just to hear from you.
I think we are mixing too many things. The issue of gender-based violence is something that has been there for quite some time. And I think what we are seeing right now is maybe it's being documented all over right now for the first time. And this is why the framers of the current constitution, actually, this is what they had in mind when they came up with the National Gender Inequality Commission. And the mandate is to promote gender equality and freedom from all forms of discrimination in Kenya, especially for special interest groups. I think what has been missing right now is we need to fund this commission. This commission right now is being led by a vibrant, a well-seasoned, an all-round chairperson in the name of the Honorable Rehema Dida Jaldesa as the chairperson. She really understands. She's a politician. She has been a human rights activist. She really understands this. What we need to do right now in Mheshimiwa and through your team is to fund this organization under the leadership of Rehema Jaldesa, so that this organization has presence in all locations, call it sub-locations, locations, divisions, sub-counties, constituencies, counties, all over. Because this thing is rampant, it's reality. And it's not a particular phenomenon for one gender group, no. It applies to the boy child, it it also applies to the girl child, and therefore there is need for us right now, because we have passed, it's a constitutional commission. We have also passed the National Gender and Equality Act, Commission Act of 2011. What needs right now is, can we fund this organization? Because right now, I believe this commission has the right leader in the name of Rema Jaldesa, and once we fund, I'm sure some of these things will be documented. Where we require legislations, there will be legislations. Where we require amendment to an existing laws, there will be amendments. Where we require policy pronouncement, the policy pronouncements will be there. Where we need to inculcate some sort of norms in our, call it in our schools, in our societies, either through the church, through schools, or through the mosque, the same will also be provided. So I think that information is what we require so that we have a Kenyan society free from these abuses. Now, coming back to the issue that she has described, you see, again, we need to understand politics. The latest definition of politics is the art of the possible. And you can magnify. What is the art of the possible? Because the formula, previously we could say politics is the art of persuasion, is democracy by the people, for the people, by the people. Slowly things have been changing. I empathize with my good sister here. And really, I know right now there's a lot of underemployment, there's a lot of unemployment. I am told every year we are releasing to the Kenyan community about 1 million graduates. And the public service is only in a position to absorb about 5,000. So you can compete. A negligible percentage. So meaning right now, all over, there are many people who have certificates, who are qualified, either who are underemployed, or who are not employed, or who are completely idle. So everybody is trying to survive, trying to make a living. And I think that is not to say that there's room for goonism. I think one of the things that I want to urge the police, and there are two types, criminal gangs. Criminal gangs, in whatever form, have no place in a modern day Kenya. The police, the CID, and all other law enforcement agencies must do whatever it takes, and that is why we have funded them. They must do whatever it takes to root out the presence, the activities of goons in the Kenyan society, because that's a recipe for chaos, and that's what has led many countries actually to civil war. Secondly, respect for the rule of law is what divides a society. That you know your boundary, you know your limitations, I know my limitations. You are in this beautiful facility right now. How many other stations are there? There are norms of your own TV. The norms are guided by the regulations. The regulations are products of a certain statute. That statute is a reflection of a constitutional framework. That constitutional framework represents the aspirations of the thinking of the Kenyan society and the entire international community. So I think I really empathize with her, but I think once I totally also agree with her, the culture of handouts must be stopped. The issue of empowerment, I am a proponent, I am a believer in the empowerment process that has been going on. And in fact, I can tell you, I led the team in the Northern Kenya group. I'll continue, I can tell you, and will invite you. One of the next targets is to do the same in Aldas. It has done a phenomenal job, because really what we are doing is to empower the disadvantaged, the women, the youth, the unemployed. Yeah. And how are you getting? It's contributions. I give 10,000, she gives 10,000, another gives 100,000, and that enables groups ordinarily who will not have had an opportunity to get funds from other groups. What is wrong? There's nothing wrong. The only thing that is wrong, the halves, the individuals.
But haven't we created institutions? Haven't we created institutions that are supposed to do this? With the youth fund, with the women fund as well. That all this money that we can see being doled out from the podiums should be channeled to these institutions to empower these women. What is making them not really access these particular fundings that you have now to come and use the political platform to distribute this money?
You can call it whatever name. Empowerment is a global phenomenon. If you go to America today, they have fundraising.
But there are channels of how this should be actually distributed.
You see, let's not mix two things. If one has a problem on the way the funds are distributed is one thing. If one has a problem with the fund itself and the modus operandi is another thing. What I was trying to allude to is this.
But aren't you the one who's really talking about how we should fund these institutions? This money that is being doled out, why can't we fund these institutions so that they may empower these women?
These are individuals like-minded individuals who come together and say, we want to empower this football team. We want to empower this youth group. You cannot force them to fund a government agency. Like if today I take her to my constituency and say, look, there are vulnerable groups, let's call it the Camel Herders Association, or the Motorbikes Association, or a particular women group, or a particular group in a different field. Nothing stops that individual. That cannot be a substitute actually for funding a national organization. I think let's get it right. Politics is politics. Politics is politics. The issue of empowerment was a great idea, and I'll tell you this. I am one of the key leaders in the empowerment process. We'll continue to lead so that every constituency or every Kenyan community gets an opportunity to benefit from this empowerment process. And the idea is this: you are employed. At the end of the month, you get some sort of remuneration. I am also employed. If I can make certain contributions, certain, contributions from my monthly benefits to a less fortunate person in our Kenyan society, the only thing you can say is to pray for that person. So I think let's forget about the politics. Those who don't believe in this never support anything good. And the reason is they are in the comfort zone. They have acquired. They have got everything. And look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There are people now in the super self-actualized. For them, if you ask for bread, they will tell you, why do you need bread? Go and look for cake. You know what has happened in the Bolshevik revolution actually in Russia. If you say today you have not eaten food, they will tell you, how can a human being stay without food? If we compete, then meaning that we will be saying we have an egalitarian society, a society where everybody has whatever you need. So I think in conclusion, let's separate two things. The issue of gender-based violence, no room for gender-based violence in Kenya. The issue of goonism, no room for goons in Kenya. The police must deal with them. The issue of empowerment, 100%. I want to urge my sister here, and I'm sure next time when I'll be doing Elders, so that you see the effect.
We did it in Nairobi.
You did it in Nairobi.
Very
so I'll be invited now to go to Elders, because it's one of the next things that we are going to do, inshallah. We have done it in a number of places, so that you see the effect, the impact of the empowerment program. For those who have initiated this, I want to say kudos.
All right, so
for those who have volunteered to contribute to this, I say kudos. Continue giving part of what God has given you to the less fortunate members of the Kenyan society, and God shall reward you.
So I wonder what metrics they're using to measure the impact.
Okay.
And how the turnaround of the empowerment and the impact that really comes. It seems also to be a concern. Okay. How do you measure that?
Okay, Dibal, let me tell you, I'm a patron for GAF. GAF is 6 million shillings a year. We have only about 1.2 million shillings for projects. If I want to do a project of car wash, I can probably give one per ward. If I want to do a project of TVs and chairs to start a commercial TV house or room, it will cost, I can only give one per constituency. So what the president did for Nairobi in terms of the empowerment was amazing. First of all, he told us all to bring groups. The groups to ask for the kind of business support that they want. I mean, there was this group from Isli who came up and said they want a water filtration system. It was costing probably 1.5 million. We were like, wow, that was a clever group. But they got that system, the water filtration system, and they would be supplying bottled water in Isli. There was some groups asked from Kokotenis. Some people sometimes when I give out Kokotenis, they're like, why are you giving out Kokotenis? But people who have them Kokotenis can make 2,000 shillings a day just from supplying water, because they're capitalizing on the fact that there's shortages of water. So we give it to them with the jerrycans, etc. So for me, every hustle matters. I love that theme. Yesterday, somebody from Kibra asked me, can you buy me an egg trolley? And I'm going to buy it for her this week, so that I can actually be able to sell eggs, and they're making good money. So the president said, bring me this many groups with whatever they want. They were not given what they don't want. They were given whatever you want. You want to go into a saloon, you want a motorbike, you want egg trays, you want television sets, whatever you want, you will get. And people got projects that will start their business. Now, the only danger is we did laundromats. During COVID, we got Mama Fuas, and they were not longer going to people's houses. We decided to create laundromats for them. A washing machine, a dryer, ironing boards. Now, the biggest problem is while we build housing, we're also doing the commercial side where you can get a little stall for nothing. Most people, when they started these businesses and then business was not taking off, the biggest challenge becomes rent. And GOV does not do recurring expenditure. So we need to learn and adjust. We're going to change the regulations of GOV. I hope the money will be increased. I hope we'll be able to cover recurring expenditure. But empowerment is pesa mashinani. It's trying to get that youth who's unemployed, who wants an opportunity to start a business, to be given the equipment to start the business. I mean, you can't fault that. I've given somebody a shaving, barber chair and shaving, and today they're successful. But there are those you give and they sell it. They sell it. The next day you try and go and look and see where's your business, they've sold it. They give up too quickly. But then not all business can be successful. So the thing is, I think mentorship, life coaching, and to fail is not the end. You can start again. So we have to continuously create opportunities. And I believe that there's also other opportunities that we have to look at is, as we export labor, we have to look at what's required. The TVETs are going to help. We certify people, we get them to get to a certain standard. I mean, I went to Australia, they need nurses. The problem is, when we certify our nurses, they have to go to Australia and do the course all over again. So can we find a way to twin or partner with an Australian college or institution so that when they go through the course here, they're covering the syllabus in Australia. So when they go there, maybe you do a one-year course. So we need to up our educational standards so that our educated lot, when they go out,
so it's on par with
with what's available. I remember, we used to have all manner of colleges to improve our standards, and we need to continue that twinning so that we can actually raise our standards. Because right now we have an unemployment crisis. That's poverty, that's drugs, that's crime, that's mental health, that's suicide, that's goonism. How do we deal with it? So I feel that I'm going to, before I break for Christmas, I'm going to meet the leaders of all these groups that we have in Nairobi. And I want to have a candid discussion with them. Because you can't, yesterday I was like, I'm hosting the Chinese ambassador. You've all showed up, and the politicians come with them. You've all showed up with these people. They behave badly. They don't realize that you've got dignitaries. And it's not good for our country's image. So I need to make them understand that you don't, if you come to an event because you want to get some money out of this event, you respect the event. Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, riding on, for me, the reason why I have to pay them off, because when they're hanging on my car,
yes, it's
scary. So now I'm going to remove those funny things on the side of the car. What do you call them? I'm going to remove them so there's nowhere to hang.
The step rails, sir.
Oh my goodness, it's
so
dangerous.
That don't cling on them.
It's dangerous for road users, for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I want to just, you wanted to say something, Kenan, before we buckle down on party politics?
I just wanted to say with a light touch, I hope that is not the reason why you are quitting politics.
I'm not quitting politics. I'm actually, this is such a... let me clarify. No. By the way, they are my sons. And they love me, and I love them. But the thing is, I don't love the behavior. Yeah, all right, the behavior is wrong, and
there's a sense of entitlement that they think.
No, it's not. It's not. It's just on that day they're looking. Look, it happened to me at Nairobi University when I first got into politics. I went to Nairobi University, and it was a Friday, and then they closed the gate. I was going to meet the women organization in Nairobi University. They closed the gate, and they refused me to leave. They said they want 100,000. I said, I don't have 100,000. You're not leaving. They blocked the gate. And that time I was opposition. I'm calling the police. They're not coming to help me. Which was really wrong. So here I am, stuck in Nairobi University. I had to find money to give them for me to be able to get out. So these are educated lots, all right? So let me tell you, it's not just the unemployed, the uneducated. It's everybody. It's become crisis. It's a crisis wherever you go. So I feel that we need to have a conversation about behavior, right? And we need to have a conversation about this gate crushing on events that you're not invited, okay?
In other words, what you are trying to suggest is we need civility.
Yes.
In our public engagement, isn't it?
And we need to talk to them. We need to educate them. I'd rather you come, sit in a corner and say, Mom, today we've come and we want money because we don't have money. But the thing is, sometimes I don't have the money and they want it. You know, so it's crazy. They bang your window. You know, I mean, how many times I've left a rally and I end up going to the garage with my car. It's so expensive. But you know, I know the leaders. I want to sit and have a conversation with them. And it's unemployment, but I want to empower them and not see them.
So,
you know what? I was in Korogocho once and I had two young men who blocked me from coming out of a school. Okay? And eventually I went and I told my security, go and find those two boys. Because I paid them off and I got out of the school, they opened the gate. I said, go and find those two boys. They went and they found them. And today, the two of them are so reformed, they have so much respect. When I go to Korogocho, they're part of my security team. So they're looking for, some will want to reform, others not. So, and some are on drugs and some are on alcohol. But all in all, I think they're on the wrong side of the stick. I think throwing them in jail is not going to be the solution. We need to find a way, you know, sometimes I feel send them to NYS, give them some training and then absorb them. I think the president has done so well in terms of upping the numbers for teachers, for NYS, but we need to do so much more. And this is why I hope the West would bloody, excuse my French, pay us our loss and damage so that we can deal with some of the problems that we have in terms of unemployment.
Yeah, but we've been seeing these gangs mushrooming, and the government has been very mealy-mouthed to react on the issue of Goonism. Until yesterday when we were seeing a report. And I'm wondering, yes, we have a report, but what discernible difference will it really make? Because we need to stand action. Maybe we could just listen into what the president had to say yesterday when he was launching this report regarding the Jukwaa la Usalama report and the Goonism in the country.
Wale ambao wanatumia vijana kama wahuni, watu ambao wanatumika kulete fujo, kupiganisha wananchi, kulete maafa, hawa ni watu ambao hatuwezi kukubali. Na nishamueleza Inspector General wetu wa polisi kwamba watu hawa wote lazima wachukuliwe hatua kali za kisheria, ndio tukomeshe uhuni na mambo ambayo yanaharibu usalama katika taifa letu la Kenya.
We have discussed with the IG that, Your Excellency, in the most important issue we must deal with in the next few months is to make sure that, Your Excellency, we deal with the issue of goons across the country. And I must say this, Your Excellency, this must be done without fear or favor. It must be done indiscriminately.
Right.
When I saw this,
yes.
And yesterday, I had to deal with the goons yesterday as well. I felt we need to have a conversation. And I remember sitting with Baba once when we were in Orange House, and they had all come and they were behaving really badly. And Baba said to me, Esther, what can you do? You know, what can we do? And I said, Baba, I've put them together in groups and I've given them empowerment projects, but they're not stopping their ways. So I feel that we need to find a way to have a conversation. Those who are drug users or addicted to alcohol, we need to make sure we win them off, and then we need to give them opportunity. I've seen people that if you take them through rehabilitation, but you have nothing else for them to do, they'll relapse back into taking the drugs. So we need to create opportunity. And you know, Baba had this thing about, if ODM had formed the government, he had this thing about giving them a stipend of 6,000 shillings a month. I think we need to find a way to absorb that lot, and we know who they are, into employment. I mean, if you want to have a demonstration on anything, like I saw there was something going on in Homa Bay, I mean, all those people are not people that don't support Gladys Wanga. But because you're offering them 500 shillings or 1,000 shillings, they will take to the streets and sing. You know, this is the thing about politics. The same people who will sing praises for me today, right, will come and insult me tomorrow for 1,000 shillings. So this is, you're exploiting people who are poor, who need that money.
But is the president really talking about these people? Who are these people? Are these people the politicians? Because we've heard even politicians from the podium saying, you know, if they give you, if they come with the money, take the money. But in your heart, you know how we'll vote. So you are engendering and encouraging this culture of,
you know, there's thugs. Look, there's thugs, there's criminals, and there's goons. Goons are hired by politicians to behave badly, right? And they are seasonal. And that's why when we have any political function, you will find them walk in. And actually, they walk in with the leaders. You'll find every leader comes in with a gang of people. And for me, I feel...
So these gangs are associated with the leaders?
Yes, they are.
So the leaders are the people who are actually steamrolling this behavior?
I think, you know, I empathize with my sister here.
It's not just me, it's everyone. Haven't you been...
I just let me finish. I empathize with my sister here. You know, you see, we have a society. That society has everybody.
Eroded.
We have criminal elements, we have the unemployed, we have the job seekers, literally. And that's why in our governance structure, we have the police, we have the CID, we have the correctional services, we have the probation services, we have departments, we have the social, you know, different groups. What we should be very careful about is Kenya is not Kenya basically is a capitalist state. A capitalist state meaning the state provides an enabling, conducive environment for you to carry out all your ventures. If you are in education, you pursue your education. The government provides the opportunities. The government provides a conducive environment. If you are a communist state, like some states, the government will sit and say, there's no private ownership of land. There are no private, everything is owned by the state. I'm sure you will not be happy. Even this TV station will be owned by the state. I think we need to accept the structure, the governance structure of the Republic of Kenya. And this by design. We will have elected, our forefathers will have opted to have this with a different political, social, economic orientation. So luckily, we're in a country where everybody gets an opportunity. Everybody gets an equal opportunity within the confines of the law. So I think what our sister has gone through might be a product of two things. One, Nairobi is the melting point of actually the Kenyan society. And being the county MP, I can imagine the challenges that, that she's going through. But that being the case, I want to commend the Ministry of Provincial Administration, National Administration, for this program of Jukwaa Salama. It's a very brilliant idea. It has brought together the chiefs, the government, the leadership actually of that office, led by the CS and the PS, have been on the ground. They have interacted, they have come up with a report. That report now is that has finally been launched yesterday by the president in the presence of the actual grassroots administrators in the name of assistant chiefs and chiefs and the assistant county commissioners and deputy county commissioners and the county commissioners. What do we expect? What we expect is a total internalization of this particular report and implementation. What does the implementation say? No room for goonism. Criminal elements must be dealt with in accordance with the law. And that was the emphasis given by the president, and that was the emphasis given by the CS Murkomen, and that is what the Kenyan society expects. It's now our responsibility as leadership, as part of the leadership, and any civilized member of the Kenyan society to root for this so that we clearly eradicate the presence.
But that's so easy to say that you will deal with them. But who are these criminal gangs that we're talking about? Because these are amorphous groups. Yeah, we cannot truly identify them, not having any uniform that you can actually
I think we have an elaborate criminal justice system. And by the way, for information, the criminal justice system in Kenya is one of the most vibrant criminal justice system actually in Africa. We have some of the best trained criminal investigators. So I think what we need to do now, there's a societal problem, and I know they're overwhelmed. We need to fund them. We need to equip them properly so that they're everywhere. And two, there are certain things that we also need to inculcate within our education system. The issue of good behavior, the issue of call it morality, the issue of adherence to the rule of law. This is supposed to be our collective Kenyan approach. As part of the leadership, it's our responsibility also to make this as part of everyday activity. The unique issues our sister has faced here, we also understand. Nairobi is a very difficult, actually, electoral area. So I think in future, this report is good. The pronouncement by the president is good. And you know, presidential pronouncement also constitutes one of the sources of law where there is a lacuna or absence of any particular provision actually in the law. What the minister has said is also good. We need to walk the talk. I want to appeal to the IG and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and all other agencies of our security sector to clearly implement this so that we eradicate the presence of goons, regardless of who they are working for.
Right, going just by the recent by-elections, and we saw, some spate of violence happening in Kasipul. A member of parliament was bleeding copiously out of that outcome that we saw it. And this is just maybe a harbinger of what will be happening in 2027. I wonder, you as leaders who are sitting here, and of course you've also related this to Pasaris on how you're adversely affected by this. You need to give out money. You're being locked out, you can't maybe get access to some premises because they're these goons who are now, sort of really manhandling you, and you have now to part away with money.
What
sort of reforms should we bring? Aside from this report that we do have,
employment,
promising, yes, we can talk about employment, a good game about it. For the longest time, we've been talking about it. We are exporting labor right now. In the meantime, that seems to be the long-term, solution, an intervention that can happen, because employment will just not. We need to create institutions. We need to create, conducive environment of how this employment can really thrive at the end of the day. But in the meantime, even as we're bridging this gap to 2027, what do we do?
It's going to get, it's terrible because politicians are pitting the community against each other. And so you see this gang will fight this gang because this gang is paid by this leader and this gang is paid by this leader. And then they will fight, and then when you get caught in the middle, I think you'll think twice. And I think it's really sad. And again, it's exploiting poverty. But then there are people who have grown up, from their youth, maybe 16, 17, 18, following politicians, and that's the only thing they know. So we need to find a way to institutionalize them. I remember majority of them who were first our security, then became bouncers in clubs, And some do both, They come for the political protection, added security, and others basically work in the evening as bouncers. Some work as security guards. And then you have those that can never get a job. This is all they know. They need it for their night fix, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs. So for me, I feel it is a problem, and we need to make them understand that it's dangerous. I even remember now the name of the one who held me at the University of Nairobi. He was called OCS. In the end, he was shot down somewhere around the university, and he died. Then we had another young boy called Sherry, who also died. We've had many who've fallen off cars hanging and died. So we need to have a conversation. But the question is, they don't want to hear. When they see you, all they want to do is climb on your car and get that money. So I've empowered a few, and they still want to do that. So I still want to have a conversation. I don't want to give up on them. There are some that actually, they'll see me, they provide security. But when they provide the security, I always tell them, can you please, can you stop this? Because it's like I'm getting massage without wanting a massage. They're all over, they're pushing you, they're pulling you, they're turning you, and you're thinking, they're helping you, but you're crowded, you're suffocating, you're trying to get through a tunnel, and they're the ones, each one is pushing, trying to help you get through, but you're not getting through because they're the same ones blocking and obstructing you. They used to do it to Baba as well. I used to worry about Baba's safety. But you see, it's their way of loving you, protecting you, and showing you, hey, we're here for you, and don't forget us, So it's something that this generation, we have to find a way to fix it. And I wish we could accommodate them, have a conversation, and we know them. By the way, there are probably about 1,000 of them in Nairobi. So 1,000 is not that many when you think about the entire population. So I hope that Interior, because we know who they are, all right, and we know their leaders, can sit with them and we find a way to institutionalize that job that they do so that it's not thuggery, it's not hanging on cars, it's not extortion. it's I think every politician would rather pay a certain amount of money and you get a certain fixed salary for providing security without being offensive. Yeah.
All right.
I think one thing that we need to be very careful about is the reality that many Kenyans are wallowing in abject poverty.
Yeah.
If you look at the content of the recent State of the Nation address by the President, what we have lacked over the years is pragmatism, decision making. This country is rich. The Kenyan people have been resilient. The Kenyan people have ever been optimistic. But what they have lacked is leadership that was focused, leadership that was pragmatic, leadership that was issue-oriented, and leadership that looked beyond the politics of the day. And that's why some of us are just saying they are the missed opportunities. Where we were in 1963, many countries were in that group. In particular, the newly industrialized nation of Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, South Korea, and many other countries. What has changed those countries is the leadership, decision making, and proper policy framework. That is why, and I'm sure she's also in that category, that is why we have been appealing to Kenyans to allow the current president, His Excellency President William Ruto, and his government to initiate and implement some of these pragmatic, people-based, people-oriented, people-centered decisions that will move us from a struggling nation to the status of a middle-income country. And this is achievable. How have the Chinese done it? You know their history. How have the South Koreans done it? And I just want to give you one clear example. In 1968, when Botswana got actually their independence, you know what happened? They sent the livestock experts to come and learn from a vibrant, functioning Kenya Meat Commission. You know the status of Kenya Meat Commission today? Under receivership, technically insolvent. And you know the status of the Meat Commission of Botswana? The key provider of beef to the entire EU, to the entire American market. What caused the difference? And you know who was the architect? A Kenyan veterinarian, actually, who later on became a citizen of that particular country. Look at all the other missed opportunities. This is why today, the environment actually, the political ecosystem actually is conflicted with confusion. That's not what Kenya requires. And this is why we keep on telling people, allow the current leadership, led by the president, an opportunity to implement their manifesto. So it's like every day we politics. Or every day we say this. So the scenario, the issues described by my sister here can only properly be dealt with. Of course, I say the police will deal with goons. But if we want to move many people actually from the abject poverty to another level, then we need to create resources. We need to create an enabling, conducive environment. We need to create opportunities. We need even to change our educational curriculum. If you look at, if you go to the UK today, every year they have a new curriculum, educational curriculum. And when they look at it, they prepare their curriculum based on the opportunities available. Here, what we were taught in 1960 is the same thing that now we are the same classical theories. That's not what Kenya requires right now. What we require now is an injection of modernism, injection of business mentality in everything that we do. The work of the government, deal with criminal elements. The work of the government, provide an enabling environment. The work of the leadership here, encourage Kenyans to create wealth. Encourage Kenyans to be as adventurous as they have been. Remember, this country has been voted as one of the best in human resource capital for the third consecutive year by the UN. Meaning, therefore, we are a resilient middle-class income. But we need to give them opportunity. That opportunity must come from the political class. The political class right now are divided along petty party lines. That's not what Kenya requires. Take, for example, there was this State of the Nation address. Have you seen the opposition coming up with alternative to this? By now, they should have had their own opposition State of the Nation address. What they do is just to discourage what the president has done. The president has a cabinet comprising of highly educated technocrats. The friends on the other side by now should have had a shadow cabinet When the CS for Internal Security published this report, Jukwaa la Usalama, the shadow minister for Internal Security should have also come up with the alternative. Kenyans will have had an opportunity to compare, contrast, and say this option is better for the Kenyan people. We do not have. We just see attacks, negative attacks, tribally oriented, hate campaigns. That is not what Kenya requires. Kenyans require food. Kenyans require decent housing. Kenyans requires a functioning medical facilities. And this will all come if there's a adherence to the rule of law and if we all submit to the fidelity of the current constitution and other norms within the civilized community of nations.
Right, so both of you, I want us to know that you've taken that trajectory of the parties or party politics as well. Let's just delve and hang on a bit on it and ask you, Honorable Eden Kane, first of all, you are a member of Jubilee Party. You're still. And of course, we know Jubilee Party is still under the United Opposition. So how are you faring on being in broad-based government, and also we have a chunk of you in the United Opposition? We've seen what happened in the Senate yesterday, right? Some of people who are in UDA and they've been dimming and supporting other members of other parties like Boni Khalwale, right? His minority leadership has been withdrawn from him or the party.
That is a good question.
Yes, so that's why I'm asking you, how does it fare for you? We know the stand of a Jubilee Party as it is.
That is a good question, very good question, and I want to take you back to immediately after the election of 2022. The election was disputed. Certain groups went all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court adjudicated and made a decision that President William Ruto was the winner and verified and confirmed the results. What followed was a denial and say, look, we're not going to accept the decision of the Supreme Court. A few of us came out in the open and say, look, we need to accept the outcome of the general election, and we say, look, allow the newly elected president, President Ruto, to fulfill his manifesto. You know what happened? Some of us were de-whipped. I was de-whipped. I was attacked. Later on, I was included in the formation of the NATCO committee. That was again disputed. I withdrew for the sake of the country. Later on, what happened? ODM and other groups joined the broad-based government. Technically speaking, Jubilee is still a member of Azimio. Have you heard anybody talking about? Jubilee has never exited Azimio.
Yes.
Jubilee has over 34 members of parliament. 33 of us are in the broad-based government. And we are the ones who carry the will of the people. Whatever decision somebody else in that respect doesn't hold any water. And therefore, the membership of Jubilee, both in the Senate and the National Assembly, clearly subscribe to the tenets of, except one, of the broad-based.
Who's this one?
I don't know, he knows himself. Subscribe to the tenets of the broad-based government, which we feel takes care of the national interest, because we require peace and stability. We require continuity. We need to have peace and stability in this country. And you know, that is so fundamental to us. For those of us who have seen civil war, you have seen what has happened. The whole region is in chaos. The whole region, you know it. Look at the Horn of Africa, look at East Africa, look at Central Africa. The whole region is in chaos. So we do not want to contribute to the failing of the Kenyan society. And therefore, proudly I can tell you, I am a proponent. I will continue to support the workings of the broad-based government. And we have even made a further decision to support the re-election of President William Samoei Ruto for 2 terms. Because what he's doing is good for this nation. What he's doing is good for the Kenyan people. Right now, it's been discredited all over by individuals who have no agenda.
So no one has really raised concern regarding your support for the broad-based.
Which support? I am the elected member of Elders. I make decisions that contribute to the well-being of the people of Elders, and will also have value.
The Secretary General of the Jubilee Party has been also, speaking against the broad-based government, calling it the blood-based government you've had. So is it against the grains and the tenets of the Jubilee Party, or you are, an outlier, so to speak, within the particular party?
Take this to the bank. I have never believed in Kioni. And I have never accepted his Secretary General. He was there. I don't know how he was brought, and has destroyed that particular party. For me and many other like-minded, we are elected members of the Jubilee Party who are in the broad-based government, who are supporting the re-election of President.
So is there a fragmentation within Jubilee that the people who are supporting the broad-based government, and there are people who are not supporting and technically now, they're in Azimio? I mean, there's a lot of confusion.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Can you make just clarity of what?
Let me clarify. Certain groups who are aligned to Kioni are confused. One day they are silent, one day they are in united opposition, one day they are in a broad-based government, one day they are in Azimio. For us, we have made a deliberate, conscious decision that reflects the thinking, the aspiration of the people we represent. That's why I'm saying, out of the 34 members of parliament, Jubilee has both in the Senate and the National Assembly, 33 of us believe in the tenets and the workings of the broad-based government, and we have even gone further to declare support for the re-election of President William Samoei Ruto. Whoever is of different view is their democratic right.
All right.
And obviously, you understand, I have been around. I am not in the league.
So the posturing of Fred Matiang'i as a presidential candidate of the Jubilee Party, it is inconsequential from what you're telling us, that that is not the position of the Jubilee Party, because you'll be supporting the re-election of President William Ruto.
I don't support the candidature of Matiang'i. The last time I saw him was, I think, way back in May.
No, you just had, an NDC, was it?
The last time I interacted with Matiang'i was, I think, in May 2022. To that extent, whatever he's saying, whatever he's doing is right. But I'm telling you, as where I sit, as a member of parliament for Elders, and many other members of parliament in Jubilee, we have made a conscious decision. We are in Azimio. I am an elected member of Jubilee. I am in Azimio. I am in broad-based government. I am supporting the re-election of William Samoei Ruto. Whatever somebody else does is their business. When the time comes, they will decide whether...
So it is not the position of a party that Fred Matiang'i will be the presidential hopeful of the party?
Certainly, it is not the decision of the elected members of Parliament of Jubilee. The elected members of Parliament of Jubilee. It is not their decision. It is a decision of other groups, and there's their democratic right.
All right. Let me hear from Mr. Passaris. I don't know if you want to chime in on the Jubilee, but I just wanted to talk about also ODM, because we've had the former deputy president saying that, he's speaking on good authority. He had the president telling him that he's out to, obliterate ODM. He's out to kill ODM as it stands. So this sort of a bromance that we have within ODM, they always say that if you want to kill your enemy, you befriend your enemy.
Yeah, with respect to the former deputy president, I think he has to focus on his political party and leave ODM alone. ODM is tried and tested. It's been around for 20 years.
But it's concerned about ODM.
He shouldn't be concerned about ODM. He should be concerned about his own party and his own coalition and his own future in politics in Kenya. I don't think he should be concerned about ODM. ODM is a strong party, and we have proved that by the recent wins that we had in Kasipur and in Magarini. We are a strong party, and we're here to stay. And as far as I'm concerned, there are a lot of people who are trying to create this notion of division. Okay, fine, Baba died, it was abrupt. Of course, there will be shockwaves, all right? But we are so united. And I don't believe that anybody other than an ODM member can tell us about which direction the party is going. We have good leadership. We're under the leadership. I mean the NEC, the National Executive Council. We immediately saw a vacuum when Baba died. We put his brother, Senator Oburu Odinga, as an acting party leader. Then we had elections in Mombasa, and we had him confirmed as the party leader. Then we also confirmed Gladys Wanga as the chairperson. ODM has structures. It's got a constitution. It's got a way of working. And our structures are so strong. Our membership is so strong. our leadership is so focused. So I feel that he needs to focus on his own political party, not on ODM.
He seems to be having some good information that Gladys Wanga and also
have sold the party.
You've sold the party.
How do you sell a party? We are all members, just like Honorable Kenan has just told you. Jubilee is a shell without its members. So if you're going to sell ODM without its members buy-in, you know, I think he's insecure about the fact that we are broad-based. We have stayed broad-based. I think they thought that there would be a collapse of our broad-based relationship. We are firmly, we were left by Baba in broad-based. I know there was the last PG that we had where Baba said we were going to field a candidate in 2022. Yes, we were going to field a candidate, and it will probably Baba would have most likely endorsed, I haven't had a dream about it, but Baba would have most likely endorsed William Samoei Ruto, because that's the man that they were working together with. And I believe that the president is going to deliver on the NADCO report. And once he delivers on the NADCO report, if we want to be in government, because I think ODM is very clear about Baba's deal that we want to always be in government, and we've seen that pattern. So we want to be in government, and we will be instrumental. And right now, I'll tell you, with the kind of work that the president is doing for this country, there is no worthy opponent right now to take down William Ruto. And why would you want to take down somebody who's performing? I mean, 100,000 teachers getting jobs. You know, NYS, the food security, the infrastructure. So what, he does the housing, you know, the NHIF. You know, he does what he has to do.
I'll wonder then, what metrics do you use to say this is a worthy opponent of President William Ruto? Because you say there is no worthy opponent who can really run against.
Come on, who?
Kalonzo Musyoka is on the table as well.
You know, Kalonzo Musyoka with which party?
Wiper Party.
Wiper can't do.
And the Wiper.
Look, let's look.
The United, just as we had as Mio.
If you're looking at,
just a moment, just
if you're looking at Wiper, if you're looking at Wiper, if we looked at Nairobi alone, okay, we were in the Azimio. Everybody was fielding candidates. Wiper had only one MP seat. This is the capital city, all right? If you're looking at Wiper, then the concentration of Wiper really was in Ukambani. You need, you know, this is the advantage that Raila had. He was national. He had MPs from all over.
We are talking about a united coalition of parties. So it's not really Wiper when you're looking at Wiper alone.
That united coalition is not looking united at the moment. It is actually totally dysfunctional. All right, I know they're boasting about having a few seats. We made a few blunders as broad-based by fielding too many candidates on the MCAs. So, you know, so if you look at the votes of UDA and ODM and you add them together, DCP is nowhere. It's actually, it disintegrates. So for me, I feel it's a learning curve. We focused on the seats that were really, really important, the MP seats, and that's where it begins. And I believe that the kind of conversations that we're hearing right now, which are divisive, where you're calling on one community. I mean, I've got Kikuyu blood, but I don't identify as a Kikuyu, I identify as a Kenyan. And I think that is so important. We are Kenyan first, all right? Our tribes are things that it's our heritage, we're proud of it, but it should not cause us to hate our enemy. And I really hope as we move along, the Kikuyus will wake up to the fact that Kenya is one, and they don't have to have the presidency. They don't have to be puppet holders to control the presidency. The country is functioning, and the president is serving all Kenyans. So I think in the next 1 year, the kind of benefits that this country will have, then the people who drive hate, you know, I mean, I always find this so amazing that because the DP has this hate for Ruto, the entire community decides we're hating Ruto. I mean, your enemy is not my enemy, okay? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, if you're going to be thinking like that, it's not good for you, you know? I mean, and we're all Christians, God is love. How do you start hating somebody just because somebody else hates him? It doesn't work that way. And I think we need to educate the people about that. But in politics, you'll always have those for and those against, and I believe that we will be shocked by the overwhelming win. Look at Kasipur. Everybody thought our young man Boyd would not win. You know, they thought that, you know, you've got two candidates, one is stronger than Boyd. He won by almost 2/3. Why?
Right.
Why? Because of ODM's strength Two, it shows you that people are still independent in their thinking when it comes to voting. And I think right now we just want to encourage everybody to come out and register as voters, because make your vote count, and look at the person who can make the country go better. And consistency is very good. I know that there have been things, things that probably we didn't do right. We didn't probably handle the Gen Z revolution right, and we want to have reparations. I know you can't bring back those who have lost their loved ones, and we need reparations from post-election violence dating back to 2007. We need stability, we need peace, we need unity, we need prosperity, and I believe the man for that job right now, the chosen one to do that job, is William Samoei Ruto. I've said it before, and I have no reservations saying it, and I'm in broad-based right now, and I really believe that ODM will be in broad-based, and William Ruto will be our candidate, and yeah,
right.
The country will progress positively.
But we have a faction of ODM, Edwin Sifuna, the Secretary General. We have Babu, as well. Rigathi Gachagua also has been saying, he's speaking on good authority, that they are not safe within ODM, and he's extended, a hearty welcome to both of them. That if they come to DCP, automatically get this.
I think it will be political suicide. It will be political suicide.
I think let's say this. We need to understand the composition of the Kenyan society. We need to look at the making of this great nation, the making of the nation state of the Republic of Kenya. Kenya comprises of many communities, many communities. The British brought us together. It was not our choice. Defined our international borders, gave us a language, and ultimately gave us a governance structure. That governance structure is what we have inherited. If you look at our judicial system, if you look at our parliamentary system, if you look at our presidential system, basically all of them are loaded with British culture. And we thank them, because they have given us an aspect of civility. That being the case, there has been the presence of something called biological nationalism. Biological nationalism, me and my tribe. Me and my tribe. Me and my community. And certain individuals have attempted to promote their ego-driven political desires, camouflaged as their tribal activities, and try to force them to the other Kenyans. Take, for example, there's a lot of hate, there's a lot of incitement, there's a lot of challenges. The Kenyan society belongs to everybody. You and me and everybody else are all members of the Kenyan society. There's also been an attempt to create the Kenya tribe through patriotism, through the promotion of patriotism, the promotion of nationalism. But I think what we need to right now deal with decisively is those elements who are hell-bent on promoting hate, on trying to divide the Kenyan society, on trying to push their own ego-driven sentiments to the other Kenyan society. What we need, there is space for everybody. Kenya is a democracy. A democracy means you will have the right to decide your ultimate goal through the vote, through your individual vote. Until that time comes, why get engaged in this all hate? What the president has done, and most of us are conscious of this, and luckily someone like me, who has been in parliament, when President Moi was the president of the Republic of Kenya, under Kibaki, when he was the president of the Republic of Kenya, and Uhuru when he was the president of Kenya, and William Ruto right now as the president of the Republic of Kenya. There are certain things that I can really educate Kenyans as a member of parliament. I joined parliament as a young member of parliament under Moi, and therefore I can clearly remember our GDP then was less than 170 billion. When Kibaki took over from less than 170 billion, within the 10 years, our GDP actually shot to almost 2-something billion. 2.something trillion. Today our GDP is almost 4.something trillion. Meaning there has been a dramatic improvement. What President William Ruto is trying to do now is to focus on the long-term, short-term and long-term agenda of the Republic of Kenya. And that's why in his dreams, and which I believe are valid, he says he wants to move this nation from a struggling third world country to a first world country. It's a dream. The same dreams, there's somebody who had the same dreams in China. There's somebody who has the same dream in South Korea. There's somebody who had dream in this country called Hong Kong.
We are supposed to be winding up.
So technically speaking, what we are trying to say is this. I am not persuaded to follow somebody who is trying to divide the Kenyan society. I am persuaded to follow somebody who has made pragmatic decisions that are tailor-made for moving Kenya from a struggling economy to a flourishing economy that will expand the economic gains of every Kenyan, that will reduce unemployment, that will take many Kenyans out of this spiraling.
Indices do not speak to a flourishing economy.
It's a process.
Yeah,
Look at where we were, by the way.
Honorable Kenan, just a moment. You today actually having a press conference, and you're saying that we should call, the hunger that is persistent in the northern eastern part of this country. We should call it, we should actually proclaim it to be a national disaster.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes, it's a historical problem.
We've always been on this particular beat all the time.
It's a historical problem.
It's a historical problem.
Yes.
Now, can you also tell us why the global hunger index is recording Kenya 103 out of 136? And we've had a slippage since 2016. That is getting worse.
Drought,
even with this particular
drought and climate change. These are natural drought, climate change. These are natural calamities.
So why are we talking a country that wants to be, a Singaporean, sort of a dream, and yet you cannot feed your own people in the first place? You're going to, of course, to infrastructure launching and dedicating money instead of feeding these people. Because now with this particular report that we are having, we are talking about severe hunger that is mostly affecting, the community in the northeastern part of this country. Where should we be going with the hand in pail and, launching roads, and still there's someone who's dying of hunger?
What you are saying is true. When Singapore left Malaysia, I can tell you, they could not afford the salaries of their public servants. For a year, there were strikes. But the Prime Minister then said, look, this is the beginning of the making of the new Hong Kong. And he has asked every Hong Kongian to tighten up their belt, sacrifice for the building of a modern, democratic, highly capitalized and wealthy Singapore. They achieved. Barely 60, 70 years ago, the state of China, how it was. South Korea. Individuals have had a dream. What the president is trying to do, if you look at the content of the just concluded State of the Nation address, there's the issue of mega dams. There's the issue of medium dams. There's the issue of irrigation all over the country. These policies, if they were applied immediately after we got our independence, maybe today the challenges we have of food crisis we have in northern Kenya will not have been there, because northern Kenya is endowed with a lot of underground water. What was missed? There's this document called Sessional Paper number 10 of 1965. Individuals sat down in the boardrooms of Treasury and agreed that northern Kenya has no value, has no contribution to the well-being, the national well-being of the Republic of Kenya, and therefore northern Kenya should be excluded from the resource allocation of the government of Kenya.
Right.
That policy is what has completely led to the state that we're in. What the president is doing, I can bet, if the President Ruto is given an opportunity and the policies that he has pronounced are implemented, the issue of food crisis in northern Kenya and other parts of Kenya will be something of the past.
All right.
My take on this is, let's all strive to give an opportunity to the president to implement his policies, so that later on we can have something that we can interrogate him and his government on when the election comes.
You mentioned, and my director is on my case that should be winding up, you mentioned that, yes, you have extensive water table in the northern eastern part of this country, where the water, we understand the aquifer there, can feed this country in the next 75 years.
Yes.
I expect you as a legislator not really come on the press conferences to talk about calling a national disaster of what is happening in the northern eastern, but being on the floor of the House on how you can desalinate that water so that you can feed your population.
In fact, right now, if the government implements what they have said, building a mega dam along River Dawa in Mandera, constructing and building the mega dam in Butte, constructing and building another dam in Garissa, doing another in Isiolo. Once this is done, I can tell you, northern Kenya will be the breadbasket of the Republic of Kenya. And I remember, look at, from 1948, when the State of Israel actually started, Today, Israel is self-sufficient actually in everything.
Thank you.
And yet Israel is a desert.
Thank you.
Saudi Arabia is the same. So I think this thing must start from somewhere. Policy pronouncement, implementation, budgeting, that's what we require. And this is what the president has started. So let's give the president time, and I'm sure in the next few years, some of these problems will be sorted out once and for all.
Thank you. All right, Esther Passaris, let me just get your closing remarks.
Closing remarks. You
Yes,
asked
please.
me earlier on whether I'm quitting politics. Well, the thing is, you know, the woman rep seat is an affirmative seat. And Nairobi in 2017 had only 2 women out of the 20 seats. In 2022, again, 2 women. And I just felt if I run for an MP seat, then there will be 3 women. We need to up the number of women leaders in Nairobi. We can't be having 10% of the leadership in the county. We need more women. So I want to leave the space for women rep. I'll have finished my safe house and addressed GBV. I want to leave that for another woman so that I run for a seat as an MP. I'm spoiled for choice. I mean, I could run in Westlands, I could run in Makadara, because now Judge Aladwa says he's running for governor. I could run in Embakasi East, where Babu Owino is also saying he's running for governor. So, or I could choose one of the Wamunyoro field seats and take up the challenge. So for me, it's leaving the woman rep seat and letting another woman have that opportunity and going to battle it out with men.
So you'll not be defending your seat?
No, I will not. I want to support another woman to get that seat. Yeah.
Okay.
It's an affirmative seat. 2 terms is enough, and move on. If I win an MP seat, then we'll be 3 of us. You know,
So still scoping around to see which will actually be snugly fitting.
Yeah, which constituency. I'm also toying with the possibility of being in the county leadership, because I feel I could complement somebody. If I had the resources, I'd run for governor, but I don't have the resources, so I would support...
Complement somebody,
yeah,
are you
I would
in a very
support,
nuanced way saying as a deputy governor?
Yeah, I would support the idea of bringing gender balance into the gubernatorial seat, and whoever would be the
Running for a senatorial seat?
No, I don't particularly like the Senate.
Why not?
I don't know. I like the National Assembly, and I think it's got an opportunity for you to really touch the people as the representative of the people. And I feel the Senate, I mean, okay, the Senate probably requires that push, because sometimes I feel the failures in this country are because the Senate is not managing the counties well. The counties need to do more, and they need to do better. And I find it sad that the Senate oversight is not working. And when they're told, we'll give you an oversight.
But how they work, you've always been startly denying them the fundings as well.
No, they don't want the funding. They don't want the oversight fund.
They've been asking for this fund forever.
No,
it's only now that you are looking for the concurrence of the National Assembly with the Senate on the issue of...
No, I think the Senate, the Senate needs to of course, they're working for the governors to try and stop CDF, but CDF is doing a lot more than some of the governors are doing. Seriously, so we need to. You know, if it's not broken, don't try and mend it. I think that the NGCDF has got its enormous benefit. GAF is underfunded; it's got enormous benefit. I believe that this whole idea of devolution. I mean, this is where I think we all had our opinions. Don't take it all to the county governments, because the county governments are already not showing us what they're doing with the resources that they've had.
Thank you. Thank you. Your closing remarks, Eden Keenan?
What I want to say is we have a country called Kenya. And it's our responsibility as citizens, as leaders, to always project, promote, and protect the image of this Premier Republic. It's our cardinal constitutional responsibility, in particular as leaders, pursuant to Article 1 of the current Constitution, to always stand for the image, for the respect of this Premier Republic. Equally, it's also our responsibility to provide leadership that will enable this country to move to the next level of development. It's also our responsibility as members of parliament through parliamentary diplomacy to also engage in other players, other regional leaders, other international leaders, to make Kenya a responsible member of the international community.
Thank you.
And this is the only thing that will give us an identity, an image that will be respected by all citizens of the world. To the politicians, there is time for everything. This is the time for development. For politics, let's come up with alternative policies that will enable Kenyans to make a choice. That choice is what will educate the voter in making the right decision, in voting for the right candidate,
Thank you.
in voting for the right party. And that's what we need
Thank you.
in our politics. Not hatred, not goonism, not violence, not chaos. And the Kenyan society is clearly yearning for that change.
Thank you. Aaron Kainan, Member of Parliament, Elders, thank you for coming through. Esther Passaris, Women Rep, Nairobi, thank you. What a fascinating discussion we've had. And I think we'll have had more time to discuss more, but I can see time is ticking to midnight. I want to thank you so much for coming through. I think the first time for you, Esther Passaris as well. Also, Aaron Kainan, thank you so much, and we look forward to hosting you more and more. Thank you.
Next time, tell Onyonka not to be scared of
Yes, I can see Onyonka also here. The text here.
I was looking forward to...
They were just saying, oh, you know, he's been under the gun the whole day because they've been in the Senate. And so he's feeling a bit knackered. Actually, he's just sent a text and sending his apologies that he wouldn't have made it today. So I suspected that something like that could happen because of a length. But thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for your valued company. May you have a restorative night. And of course, sleep serenely. Good night.